All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's Fantasy Football Live with the Fantasy Sports Boss. It is Friday, so Football Friday, another Football Friday in a season that's moving as rapidly as ever in Week 14. Only a couple of more weeks of this, a couple more weeks of Football Fridays before we make the transition to the offseason, NFL draft, offseason news, transactions, all that good stuff. So the videos won't stop once the offseason comes, but that's a concern for another day. For now, we all have to try to make sense of what has been a very complicated, not very clear and cluttered injury report. And already, since we have 6 teams that are on a bye, the replacement level pool is very shallow, and that's leading to a lot of frustration. I know for myself and everybody else in the fantasy football community. Especially if you need to win. If you already sewed up your playoff spot, then you know what? This week is not going to be as stressful for you. In one of my leagues, I've already done that. So I have nothing to play for in one league. I've earned the bye next week. But my other league, I desperately need to win. And the injury report might have a big say on what happens. Now, of course, last night, if you missed it, the Los Angeles Rams with a ridiculous comeback victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh McDaniels should be fired on the spot. It was just horrendous coaching. Second time in less than a week, we've seen coaches absolutely blunder the late stages of a game, of the fourth quarter. First, Dennis Allen with the Saints, and now Josh McDaniels joins that list as just complete choke artist. Why is he's using press coverage with the Rams having no timeouts? It made no sense. Instead of just giving them whatever they wanted in the middle of the field, he's playing press coverage. And it was just a disgrace of an effort by the Raiders and by Josh McDaniels running the ball as much as they did on a team that was ready to just lay down and die. They got a spark from Baker Mayfield, but that was absolutely moronic coaching by Josh McDaniels. And if you're a Devontae Adams owner, it wasn't a good night. 10 plus fantasy points. If you're a Josh Jacobs owner, it was a good night. Although he has to get some more testing done on the pinky that he injured. I still think it's criminal, the usage that they're putting on Jacobs over the last couple of weeks. He's now got 3 separate injuries. But again, I said it yesterday during the live fantasy cast stream, is that I think what's going on here is that the Raiders have already kind of resigned themselves to the fact that they're not going to bring back Josh Jacobs next year. They're not going to franchise tag him. So they're just going to simply run him into the ground. I mean, they're going to get what they can out of him and then just move on next season with Zamir White. So because Zamir White is their guy, that's who they drafted. And they declined the 5th-year option on Josh Jacobs. As great of a season as he's having, he's already 4 years into his career. So, going by the trends of a running back, he's already more than halfway past his usefulness in terms of staying power. Mostly 7 years is about the most you're going to get out of a running back in terms of consistent production. And so I think that's what's going on there. But just a god-awful performance by the Raiders last night. So again, if you're new to the stream, hit the subscribe, hit the notification button. Sunday, of course, will be the all-day injury update videos and whatnot, news of the day, all that good stuff. And then, of course, the wrap-up Sunday night. So your thoughts on having a backup QB? I'm a Josh Allen owner. He's my only QB. Goff's available in my league. Drop Treylon Burks to pick him up. Listen, Blue Crew, I'm the perfect example of why you need to make sure you have a viable backup. So, as many of everybody else knows, this week in that league that I'm 7-6 and I desperately need to win, I had Justin Fields on a bye, and I have Lamar Jackson. Well, of course, Lamar Jackson's injured; he's doubtful, which was ridiculous. He's not going to play, so I have no quarterback. So literally, I had to pick up Sam Darnold. Tried to get Tyler Huntley off waivers, somebody beat me to it. Tried to get Mac Jones off waivers, somebody beat me to it. So I had to pick up Sam freaking Darnold, of all people. That's how bad it was. It was either him or Davis Mills or Brock Purdy. Now, somebody subsequently dropped Russell Wilson, and I actually picked up Russell Wilson. So I'm going to ride and die with Russell Wilson. Although today, before I just came on here, somebody dropped Mike White. So I hate the matchup against Buffalo, but and especially with the weather, which I'm going to get into in a second. But I think I might have to pick up Mike White and just go with him over Russell Wilson. Yeah, I just have a feeling Russell Wilson's actually going to show some signs of life. It's got shootout potential written all over it. If this is the game that he's going to finally step up and deliver the goods, it would be the perfect time to do it now. But anyway, long explanation, probably too long. My point is, Blue Crew, yes, you need to have a backup. I would pick up Jared Goff for sure. He's been playing great. I mean, listen, as long as he gets protection, he's going to be good, and he could take apart any defense, and he's done that for the majority of games this season. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Love the channel. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for taking these questions. Pick one wide receiver, Palmer or Corey Davis. I'm going to have to go Corey Davis. The Jets are going to have to throw a lot to keep up with the Bills. Josh Palmer is now fifth on the target tree behind Keenan Allen, behind Mike Williams, who doesn't have an injury designation. That just came down about 15 minutes ago. So Mike Williams will play. He's going to make his return. And then you have Gerald Everett and Austin Eckler ahead of him. So honestly, Josh Palmer is really not somebody I would use this week. Now, in terms of the Jets, because we've already gotten a couple of questions on the Jets, they're going to be playing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, and the weather's going to be rough. It's getting increasingly worse, the weather. Now, it's not going to be a snowstorm. It's not going to be a blizzard, but it's going to be persistent rain and snow throughout the game. Now, the one saving grace here is there's going to be no wind. It's going to be very, very calm winds, but it's just going to be a persistent precipitation throughout the game. So this is what you sign up for when you draft Josh Allen or you draft a Stephon Diggs or a Gabe Davis, for that matter, is that you go in knowing that in December, things are going to get dicey. Last season, of course, we had that game, Bills-Patriots. I'll never forget it, in that absolute blizzard. The game went on, and I think Josh Allen only had 13 fantasy points. I mean, they couldn't throw. Mac Jones literally threw one pass the entire game. So that's always a possibility. We've seen one game moved out of Buffalo, that hellacious record-setting blizzard. This is not going to be that, but it's going to be persistent precipitation. So that's going to complicate things just slightly for Josh Allen and Mike White. Mike White more because he's not the runner that Josh Allen is. So that's what we have to make note of. Now it's a 90% chance. That was the last I saw of precipitation. So maybe just slightly downgrade both guys. I do think that Isaiah McKenzie, again, precipitation, quarterback that now might have some issues throwing the deep ball. And then you have the two splendid Jet cornerbacks locking up, Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis going deep. And when I say lock up, I mean, the last time these two teams played, Stephon Diggs did not catch a single pass in the second half as Sauce Gardner completely locked him up. So the Jets, those guys are legit. They're absolutely legit. DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. And I think Isaiah McKenzie, by default, is going to have a good game. Now, let's get to this injury report, because it's beyond extensive. So Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins have been ruled out. So it's going to be Chris Moore and Philip Dorsett. I mean, the Texans should just forfeit. The spread on this game is 17. All right, 17. An NFL game this late in the season, there is a 17-point spread. So Davis Mills back on the center. I think that's actually an improvement for Houston from Kyle Allen. But again, as somebody who owns CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz, I'm counting on big weeks for them. I don't think I'm going to get it because the game is going to be decided so quickly. Now, then again, we thought that last night, and it didn't happen. So, maybe the Texans somehow hang close to the Cowboys, but the Cowboys defense has been splendid all season as well. So you're not getting a 30-point game from CeeDee Lamb. You're not going to get a 15-point game from Dalton Schultz. Tony Pollard, absolutely, he's going to be phenomenal. Ezekiel Elliott's going to have a huge game. But even them, they might be taken out in the fourth quarter if Dallas is up 30-something points, which I think they will be. So just a really ugly situation for Houston. If you're a Dameon Pierce owner, you really got to think long and hard about even playing him as a flex, because he'll get some opportunities in the first quarter, but the outlook of the game is very bad for him. In terms of game script, there's just as bad of a game script potential as you could imagine for Dameon Pierce in this game against Dallas. So I'd be very, I would temper expectations when it comes to what Pierce is able to do in this game. All right, so Pete Carroll spoke to the media not that long ago, and DK Metcalf injured his hip during the week during practice. All right, now he says he's ready to go. He did not practice Thursday or Friday, which is key. So, Carroll's saying he's going to play, but here's the thing. Pete Carroll's very annoying with this. He constantly downplays injuries. He's going to be fine. He's going to play. So you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt. I do think DK Metcalf is going to be in there. But there is a high risk of re-injuries. So there is major risk with DK Metcalf. So he suffered the hip injury during practice, which has me concerned. And here's the other thing. Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas are both listed as questionable. They're not playing. I mean, this is gamesmanship by Pete Carroll. Walker did not practice today. So how could you say that he's questionable when he literally hasn't practiced the entire week? So this is just Pete being Pete. It's going to be Travis Homer getting the start. And he's got appeal. That this is not a this is not a good Carolina Panthers defense by any means. So Homer, who's already a very good receiver, might get more opportunities than he's ever gotten in terms of running the football. So he has good flex appeal when we officially get the word that both Walker and DJ Dallas are not playing. But of course, the late afternoon start just kind of throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into things, which just has me, a little bit concerned. Ben Davis hopes Zay Jones plays this Sunday. He's been limited with a chest issue during practice. By the way, Baker Mayfield would be a great fit for the XFL. Yeah, listen, but you got to be fair though, Blair. He played well last night, and off of really just 24 hours digesting the playbook, he got it done. Now, as far as Zay Jones, I did make note that if you study the Tennessee Titans defense, they've been much more susceptible on the outside than in the slot. So this is a Zay Jones week. The way the setup is. The Titans have had major trouble defending the outside receivers. The slot, they've actually been pretty good on. So Christian Kirk may not have that huge game that we all anticipate having. But yes, he is questionable, Zay Jones. We got to keep an eye on that. Dropped Odell Beckham, picked up Zonovan Knight. Yeah, of course. I mean, Odell Beckham, he has to be dropped everywhere. He's not going to play until the playoffs. He even said that today, last night on the Amazon broadcast. So he is not going to be playing. He's not going to have any effect in terms of fantasy. Looking more like Barkley won't play. Injury seems a little more serious than we anticipated. Walker, on the other hand, did not see he's not going to play, George. Kenneth Walker is not going to play. Now, on the other hand, I think Saquon Barkley is going to play. He met with the media yesterday. Ralph Acciano, who's a local reporter here, longtime Giants beat reporter for the New York Daily News, came out and said that Barkley's going to play. And he's as tuned in as anybody in this area in terms of the Giants. So I think Barkley's going to go. I mean, you can pick up Matt Breida. Gary Brightwell, though, has looked pretty good in when it's, the opportunities that he's gotten in the past. But I think Barkley is going to go. Now, he's questionable. He's been beat up. It's been a long season for him. He hasn't played this deep into a season in a long time, but I think he's going to be out there. But again, this is a really tough matchup against the Eagles. The Giants might even get shut out in this game. I would not be surprised in the least if they got shut out. Rise Above Anything. Straight Travis Homer is on waivers. Yes, that's a good move to pick him up. PPR, pick one running back and a flex. Jamal, Etienne, White, James Cook, and Bam. Oh, boy. I'm going to have to go Zonovan Knight. And I'm going to have to go I'm going to have to go Rachaad White and Zonovan Knight. Those are the two I think I'm going to go with. Leonard Fournette's not going to play. So that leads me into Leonard Fournette. So Leonard Fournette's got a foot injury. He didn't practice again today. Todd Bowles says they're going to hope that he feels better by Sunday. But again, when a guy doesn't practice Thursday and Friday, they're almost always going to miss the game. So Rachaad White now, even though it's a tough matchup, he graduates to high-end running back 2 value by default. There's going to be a lot of passes out of the backfield, as there always is with Tom Brady. And I know for me, it does clear up an issue on one of my on my 7 and 6 team because I have both Fournette and White. So if one guy gets the majority of the touches, which White will get, and he's proven himself capable of doing so, I would go with him. I said Zonovan Knight just because I think he's going to get the most touches. I hate the matchup for Travis Etienne this week because Tennessee is very good at defending the run, and he really hasn't been playing anyway. Playing Chark over McKenzie. Either one. I mean, the weather is obviously better. And as far as Minnesota and Detroit, it's the highest over-under on the board. So I'm fine with Chark for sure. Mike Williams return. I think Mike Williams, he's already been re-injured once. So there is concern about that he hasn't been able to totally put this behind him, talking about Mike Williams. But I think he's going to be, the all or nothing guy that he's always been. I mean, he's just going to have these extreme levels of production from game to game, and that's just who he is. But it's good to see that he'll be back. Glad to see Higgins off injury. Yeah, so T. Higgins has no injury designation, so that's good. We had to worry about that midweek add to the injury report. And I don't remember a week where there's been so many midweek additions to the injury report. But it looks like Higgins is going to be fine. So no issues there for him, and they're going to need him. Zonovan Knight, a running back 1 or 2. He's a flex. He's not a 1 or a 2. He's a flex. Zonovan Knight or Dameon Pierce. Chris, I got to go Zonovan Knight. I mean, Dameon Pierce is in as bad of a game script as you could possibly imagine with a 17-point spread against the Dallas Cowboys. Fournette may not play. Yeah, Fournette I don't think is going to play. And that's the MO with the guy. He misses games every year, and he's probably not going to play this week. And I'm fine with that because, again, it clears up the room for Rachaad White to do his thing. I can flex White, but I picked up Homer. I have George Pickens. You would go White over both of those guys. Any update on Jamal Williams? No, I haven't seen anything on that. Deebo Samuel was removed with the quad injury from the injury report, so he's good to go. So Pete Carroll said Kenneth Walker and DJ Dallas are game time decisions. So, that sucks. That he's just being so stupid right now, Pete Carroll. I mean, honestly, they haven't played at all, practiced at all this week. Travis Homer's off the injury report. So, but again, we're going to have to wait to see, the late afternoon window, which guy is going to be in there. So, it's going to be, that's a real pain in the neck. It really is, especially if you have guys that you can put in there at 1:00 in the flex for Travis Homer. Good luck dealing with that one. I can't even believe that's how he left it. We talked about Mike Williams. So Jerry Jeudy no longer on the injury report with his ankle, so he's going to be good. He's going to get a lot of targets. I mean, the Broncos are going to have to throw the ball. They're playing the Chiefs. They're going to fall behind most likely, and they're going to have to play catch up. So a lot of garbage time passing going on here. So I think Jerry Jeudy in PPR leagues is going to get quite a bit of targets. So DeAndre Hopkins, he was sick, returned to a full practice on Friday. No issues there. Benched Foster Moreau for Aquano last night. So, yeah, I mean, Foster Moreau, Jesus, he got 0. He had 1 target and 0 fantasy points. So AMC machine, you did the right move there. All right. So boss, pick 2 for my Gerard. How you doing? 2 for my flex spots: McKinnon, Bellinger, Marvin Jones, Chark, Demarcus Robinson. I would definitely go Chark, definitely, and I would say McKinnon. Because, he scored double digits last week, and I don't like Marvin Jones at all. Demarcus Robinson, I think it's going to be the Mark Andrews show. So I would say lukewarm endorsement for McKinnon, but definitely DJ Chark. So DeAndre Swift is not on the final injury report for week 14 with the ankle injury, so he's good to go. That's good to see. Hopefully he gets as much work as he got last week as well. Zonovan Knight or Rachaad White. Flip a coin. They both have bad matchups, but I would go Rachaad White because I think he's a better receiver. Saquon Barkley playing. I think he's playing, and I don't know if he just came in, but the local Giants beat reporter, Ralph Acciano, said he is playing. So, and I think he will. I mean, he wants to get paid too, don't forget. So just like with Josh Jacobs, I think he's going to make sure he's out there. Who will start at running back for Seattle? Well, that's the $1 million question, Joe. I think it's going to be hi, Erwin. How you doing? I think it's going to be Travis Homer, but see, I still haven't nailed down if Kenneth Walker practiced today. If anybody could look that up, or DJ Dallas. It didn't say whether they actually practiced today. I thought it said that Walker didn't, but I'm not 100% sure. Cortland Sutton will not play. We already knew that, so no Cortland Sutton. So it's going to be Jerry Jeudy and Greg Dulcich. So if you need a tight end, Dulcich is actually a decent play. So Trevor Lawrence is questionable with a toe injury. It seems like more of a game time call for him. He did practice on Friday. Doug Peterson says it depends on how he feels. The questionable tag is better than doubtful, obviously. So I think Lawrence is going to go. He hasn't. One thing that Lawrence has proven is that he doesn't miss starts. So I think he'll be out there, and that's going to help Christian Kirk. It's going to help Zay Jones. It's going to help everybody. If it's CJ Beathard, not as much. So I think, my confidence level on this is probably 70-30 that he plays. But I'm not overconfident to the point that I'm not going to check to make sure that he's in there, because I think there is at least a little bit, because like I've said many times before, a toe injury is a problem. Running back to Rashad Penny. Well, Rashad Penny wasn't that great either. It's just saying Dallas is questionable on Sunday. I don't think he practiced. Yeah, I don't see anything about that either. So, that's I really doubt that Kenneth Walker is playing. But again, that 4:00 window, I think Pete Carroll likes it to be difficult just for the sake of being difficult. Like, I really think he lives for that. Tyreek Hill was sick. He's fine today. No problem there. Same thing with Corey Davis. He's going to play. So I think Corey Davis is now the second target behind Garrett Wilson. And I'm going to fight everybody for Garrett Wilson in the third round next season. Big Trev, need help, full PPR, Rachaad White or Mostert. Thinking of Rachaad only. Yes. Even if Lenny plays, I still like Rachaad White. He's going to get a lot of catches. Yeah, I think Homer is going to get the nod. DJ and Walker didn't practice. Thank you, Erwin, for looking that up. I figured that. So there, how are you, especially with a rookie, how are you going to put a guy in there when he hasn't practiced the entire week? Odell Beckham going to the Giants. I didn't see that, Death Lord. I know he mentioned it. He made a reference to the Giants yesterday when he was being interviewed on the Amazon Prime broadcast. Even if he goes to the Giants, he's not playing in the regular season. And here's the thing, too. So remember when I told you guys weeks ago that he was going to Dallas? Well, that was the plan based on the individual I spoke to that's connected to Odell. But it was Dallas who pulled out because they did not like the way he looked. They didn't like what they were hearing about the injury. The meeting did not go well, from what I gathered. The meeting didn't go well with Dallas. So it was Dallas that pulled out, not Odell. So Odell is now left with the Giants, Buffalo, and now I think he's entertaining the Chiefs as well. Pete Carroll. And for the Chiefs, I would do it if you're the Chiefs, because you know what? If you don't need him for the playoffs, then bring him in. Pete Carroll's been chewing it. Yeah, Pete Carroll's. I can't stand Pete Carroll, and I really can't stand the way he left USC left a really bad taste in my mouth. He left those kids hanging in a balance because he did some dirty things there with Reggie Bush, and he got caught, and then he hightailed it out of there. So he was not a stand-up guy for sure. All right, so Lamar Jackson is doubtful. John Harbaugh's another one. Just cut it out. He's not playing. Just declare him out. And it becomes annoying too. With Jackson in terms of fantasy, because I need him to be declared out so I can put him on the IR list in Yahoo, which you could. And that's one thing, by the way, that has generated some discussion in some of my leagues that, you shouldn't be able to put a guy on IR if he's out for only one game and he's not on the actual IR. But you know what? Yahoo, it's legal in Yahoo. Yahoo lets you do it. So if the software that hosts the fantasy league allows it, then you have to allow it, because you're not going to have a commissioner patrolling that every week, checking everybody, being an eye in the sky. Nobody's going to do that. So if it's allowed, then so be it. Yes, George, I use Yahoo, but I'm getting tired of it. I'm definitely going to check out Sleeper next year. I looked at it a little bit this preseason. It gave me a headache. It was just too much to learn. But I want to do a league next season. I want all my leagues next season to be the double game each week. You play the one-on-one matchup against whoever you're playing, like the classic fantasy, and then the second matchup is you play the rest of the league, all 12 teams. And the top 6 scoring teams each week get the W. The bottom scoring 6 get the loss. So you could go 1-1, you can go 2-0, 0-2. That way, when you have those frustrating matchups, when you would have blown out everybody else in the league except your opponent, and we've all been there, at least you get one win to show for it, because you would wind up finishing in the top 6. Who do you like more out of Chark, Zay, or Palmer? Not Palmer. I like Chark the best. Easy on that one for sure. ESPN to fantasy. Yeah, I haven't done ESPN either. I really it's always been Yahoo for me, and it's just kind of a comfort thing, I guess. So Treylon Burks is out. So Chig Okonkwo, get to know this rookie tight end from Maryland, 4th-round pick. He lit up the combine, 4 catches for 60 some odd yards last week. He is a real handful. 3 40+ yard catches this season. The only tight end in fantasy football to do that this season, 3 40+ yard catches. And considering he's really been just a part-time player, that's saying a lot. He's got big speed, can fight for the football. He's going to do whatever he wants against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I already picked him up. I'm probably going to use him in the flex spot because I'm not going to want to wait for Travis Homer. That's the situation I'm in now that Leonard Fournette probably is not going to play. So I really like this kid. I think he's going to be something else. This is your last call on him, because I think this week against the perfect opponent, Jacksonville, who doesn't start anybody, I would get him in there. Who would you start, Rachaad White or Dameon Pierce? Rachaad White, easy. I want no shares of Dameon Pierce at all this week against Dallas with a 17-point spread. Okonkwo or Dulcich? Well, that's a valid debate there. I would say Dulcich, though, because he's being used like a wide receiver and he's proven he can do it. Okonkwo has to prove he can do it. So, and then Denver's going to have to be forced to throw it, whereas the Titans, I think, could play some ball control. Will you make fantasy basketball videos? I might get into fantasy basketball this year. I was on the fence. I'm not going to do that. I don't do fantasy basketball. Unfortunately, I just don't have the time. Sean McVay expects Baker Mayfield to be the starter for the next 4 games of the season. So that just came out. Wanted to let you guys know about that one. So Saquon Barkley is questionable. Giants beat continues to be fairly adamant they think he'll play on Sunday. So, is it Matt Breida is the handcuff to own there, but don't sleep on Gary Brightwell. He's done some really good things. I'm a Giant fan. I've seen every game, and on the opportunities that he's gotten to play in the past, Gary Brightwell has done decent. Deontay Johnson questionable with a hip. He got in another limited practice today. He'll be out there. He's going to play. Deontay Johnson more than anybody is putting a cap on George Pickens. So it's been a little bit of annoying. You'd like to see what Pickens can do without Deontay Johnson, but Johnson looks like he'll be ready to go. Michael Gallup or Tyler Boyd. I'd have to say Michael Gallup. Boyd's been bad. Damian Harris didn't practice with the thigh injury. He's not going to play. So again, Ramondre Stevenson will get the majority of carries, and he's got a good matchup against Arizona, who doesn't stop anybody. Jacoby Myers, meanwhile, is still in concussion protocol. I'm waiting on him in that 7-6 league. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now. I got Leonard Fournette in that league. I got Jacoby Myers. So Myers has tomorrow to clear it. If he clears it, then he's a good wide receiver 3 against Arizona, who's a passing funnel. They don't stop anybody in the passing game. So if Jacoby Myers clears tomorrow, then he's definitely a play for me Monday night. But Rondale Moore did not practice. He's not going to be able to go. Who would you rather have, Gallup or Darius Slayton? I guess Darius Slayton, because the Dallas game's not going to be competitive after a while. The Giants are going to have to keep throwing. Any good sleepers at wide receiver? DJ Chark, for sure. He's number 1 on the list. DJ Chark. Darius Slayton is a sleeper as well. You can take a look at him. Akine, the Titans wideout, although I think it's going to be the tight end, like I said. Slayer, AKM, if Hitman. With K9, DK out, I'm possibly cooked this week. I don't think DK is going to be out. Kenneth Walker, I do think will be out for sure. So no injury designation for T. Higgins. That's a big one. He had the hamstring injury middle of the week. Didn't practice yesterday, but he's good to go. DJ Chark or Gallup? Oh, Chark, easy. That game's going to be competitive throughout the game, whereas Dallas is probably going to sit everybody down in the third quarter. Who would you start? Evan Engram, Hunter Henry, Bellinger, or Okonkwo? Probably Engram. I still would go Engram there. If Lawrence plays, though. If Lawrence doesn't play, then I would probably try the kid from Tennessee. For flex, should I go Knight or Homer? Knight. Yeah, definitely Knight. He's a real deal. When I say real deal, like a running back too. He's not Breece Hall, but they got something there, the Jets. Is Lockett a must start if DK doesn't play? Lockett's a must start even if DK plays. Lockett's been really good. You see what he did last week? You're welcome, Erwin. Donta Foreman not on the injury report, so he's going to be good to go. He had a foot injury, no issues there. Amari Cooper. So this is another one we got to watch. So he's got a hip injury. He suffered the hip injury Thursday during practice. He is questionable. He said he's probably going to be able to play. Players are always going to say that, whereas the coaching staff there was a little bit more pessimistic about it. So this one we have to watch closely, because if Cooper is out, then Donovan Peoples-Jones and David Njoku become that much more impactful in terms of their expected point totals. Foreman in play as well. Yeah, Foreman could be a decent guy as well. He's played well. Listen, ever since Christian McCaffrey's been traded, he's been solid. Cook or Peoples-Jones in flex. I'm gonna go Cook for now. If Amari Cooper's out, then Joe, you have to go Peoples-Jones. Thoughts on Jeff Wilson rest of the season? Do you trust him more? I do trust Jeff Wilson more than Raheem Mostert, but it's almost it's about a 60-40 share in favor of Wilson. So Leonard Fournette, like we said, was not at practice. Waddle, Chase, and Andrews. That's pretty good to me. I'd rather play those 3 guys over Foreman if I were you, Rise. So Leonard Fournette was not at practice Friday, so that's a really bad sign. I mentioned how Todd Bowles said that he thinks he might be able to play, but I don't see it. Cam Akers. All right, so that's the deal with all the injuries. And then the weather report for that Jets-Bills game. So that weather report is definitely one that we're gonna have to keep an eye on. For Sunday. You think Patterson might have a better chance of upside with Ritter playing? Hard to say. Or I think they're pretty much the same player, Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ritter. If DK is out, would you drop Jamo to pick up Westbrook Akine? No, I don't think Westbrook Akine is really going to be. Westbrook Akine is that guy who has like one good game out of 8. And, there's just no staying power there. Flex one, James Cook, Ayuk, Knight, Jameson Williams, or Rashad White. I'm going to still, since Leonard Fournette's not playing, you got to go Rashad White just based on the workload. I have Chase, Kirk, Travis Kelce, Nick Chubb, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, and Zonovan Knights. Yeah, I mean, that's a good setup, Death Lord. There's no weakness in that group, that's for sure. So, so anyway, I started to say about the Bills Jets game. That's one that we have to watch. There's going to be quite a bit of precipitation there that we have to keep an eye on. And really for this week, there's quite a few games. I know the Giants game too, there might be some precipitation as well. And, we're at that point in the season where these things are going to become factors. Thoughts on Kadarius Toney? I can't stand him. I think Kadarius Toney is just a waste. Here in New York, we're just, we were done with that guy a long time ago. Just never seemed like he was interested in playing. The constant hamstring injuries, and I'm 100% serious. Like, does he not drink enough water? Like, is it just a dehydration issue with this guy? Like, what the hell's the deal? Like, he's never healthy. So I can't stand guys like that because you could just simply never depend on them. So even though he's in Kansas City, he's got a perfect setup for, offensive success. I'm not using him in anything, nothing in terms of fantasy. So Fournette missed practice today. Yeah, a Friday missed practice is trouble, especially for a guy who's been banged up of late. So I don't think that Leonard Fournette is going to be able to go this week. So Rashad White becomes, low-end running back 2 against San Francisco. Thanks, boss. I missed the Leonard Fournette news, so he's out for week 2. It's not official. He's listed as questionable. It seems like coaches this week were completely against declaring anybody out. Like, I mean, Treylon Burks is one, but like everybody else, like Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's not playing, but we got to list him as doubtful. Leonard Fournette, he's questionable, highly doubtful to play. And then the Kenneth Walker thing is just the worst one. He hasn't practiced all week, but yet he's questionable. My favorite NFL team is the Giants. Finally, some success after just really god-awful years for a long time. Everett over Okonkwo. I would still go Everett over Okonkwo. Play Cards D or Jets D this week. Not the Cards D. No way. You got to play the Jets D every week, even if it's Buffalo. And they did well against Buffalo last time. Michael Pittman worth starting rest of seasons. No, I wouldn't. I would start all those other guys ahead of Michael Pittman. I'm done with him. But anyway, yeah, I'm a Giants fan. I've seen them. I've seen 4 Super Bowl championships. So, I guess I'm semi-spoiled, but over the last 15 years, it's been a complete shit show. Well, I should say the last 10 years, it's been a complete shit show. The end of the Eli Manning era, Joe Judge, what's his name? The offensive coordinator now, the guy with the mustache who benched Eli for Geno Smith. There's been a lot of Dave Gettleman who completely ruined the franchise. So there's been a lot of downtimes for sure. It's really been horrific being a Giants fan the last 10 years, but now they have the right coach. Brian Daboll is the right coach. He's got a plan. Joe Shane, the same thing. They're simpatico. They're on the same wavelength. They're coming from Buffalo together. Right away, he set the tone with that win over the Titans, talking about Brian Daboll in week 1. And, they've hit the skids lately, but that's just because they have no offensive players. So they're really going to need to address that in the offseason. Now, the question is, will Daniel Jones be back? I'm not sure. If I had to say now, I would say no. But it's also, I am a Jones apologist because it's been quite unfair to the kid. He has had nobody to throw to the entire season and really throughout his career with the team. Updates on J.K. Dobbins. No, I haven't seen much. If he's going to play, which I don't think he will, it's just going to be a handful of carries. With me having Chris Olave, should I be praying for Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill? Jameis Winston, you should. Taysom Hill, we've seen the Taysom Hill passing show before. It's not pretty. He's an athlete. He's not a quarterback. I'm expecting Andrews to bounce back. Yeah, you should. Tyler Huntley's got ability. I mean, he can, he's proven himself in the past. I went over those stats yesterday, the 5 games he played last season. He was very good. He runs the football well. He's got good accuracy, generally makes the right decisions. Doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't have Lamar Jackson's arm. Lamar Jackson is just a complete freak, but he can move the football. So, and the one thing he does is he targets Mark Andrews very, very highly, and that's probably going to continue this week as well. I'm fully expecting Mark Andrews to come back and have a monster game and to be the Mark Andrews that we saw in the beginning of the season. You think changing the athletic coordinator or trainers would make a difference in receivers' health? It could. The problem is with the Giants, it's the field that they play on. They're ripping it up at the end of the year. Even visiting teams have complained about it. There's been a lot of injuries, a lot of soft tissue injuries, a lot of knee injuries, ACLs, a lot of stuff going on, non-contact injuries. It's a very bad surface, so I think that has to do with it more than anything else. Someone in my four-man league is starting TJ Hockenson over Mark Andrews. I mean, everybody in that Minnesota-Detroit game is going to have fantasy appeal. It's going to be that high scoring. Love this channel, boss. Best fantasy show. Thanks a lot. I'm with you. Rest of the season, off season. Oh, thank you, Grind. Don't stop. Yeah, I've tried to make it different. The one thing I pride myself on is answering the questions that you guys put on the message boards and under the videos and stuff. Because I know myself as a fan, when I tweet or ask questions for the various fantasy guys on Twitter and whatnot, and most of the time they never answer you. I think that's very disrespectful, and it's frustrating because you just want an answer. So that's why I do the streams, to answer those questions. And also when you post to me, I have notifications on, so I usually answer the questions at worst within 24 hours. Most of the time within an hour, maybe even just within a couple of minutes. There's been times where you guys ask me a question and I fire it back within 30 seconds. So, and then of course the instant injury videos, I try to, I know they have the apps that give you the news, in print form, but I like to take it a little step further and explain, what happened, who's the next guy up, what this could mean, and then put that out there like 30 seconds later. So, and then the live streams as well. And yeah, and then in the off season, like I've said before, I'm going to be getting, Erwin, you're right. That's the one thing. So that's going to be coming soon. I'm sure with the chat, a lot of people asking questions. AMC Machine with a $5 super chat. Thank you, AMC. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the fantasy advice. Well, thank you for being a loyal watcher of the show, and I really appreciate that. And all the donations go right back into the show, and also with the draft guides that I put together and whatnot, printing costs, things like that. So it really does help. This is like my second job. I am a teacher and a coach by day, and I do this in the afternoon at night. And maybe someday I'll do this full time. Not there yet. It's but this is sort of like a second job. So I do appreciate the donation, and that means a lot. But yes, answering what you were saying about the chat, there was one time, I don't even remember what happened that it got so crazy, but we had over 100 people in here, and it went so fast that, it did dawn on me at that moment that I needed to probably get some moderators for next year. So I'm going to definitely have that for next year. But like I said, the show grew really quick. I got the first 1,000 subscribers within 3 months, when it typically takes 12 to 16 months. So I was really happy about that. It has slowed of late because the season's winding down and some people have just thrown in a towel on fantasy football. But next week, during the off season, I'm going to be doing all draft stuff, NFL draft. I love the draft. I'm a total draft Nick. I've watched all the college games. I've done an NFL draft guide for 15 plus years. I think this is year 16. I'm putting out a book. It's not a magazine, it's a book. So that'll be going on sale soon. I'm doing the running backs now. I just finished the quarterbacks. So I'll be going through all the positions, and that will be up. And I write every word of it, by the way, nobody else. So, I own Grind. You're welcome. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. And I will always answer your questions. But anyway, in terms of the off season, a lot of NFL draft stuff, and rumors, who's taking who, which guys are rising, which guys are falling. I'm going to stream during the NFL Combine, probably stream during the NFL Draft. I'm going to do an all-day stream the last week of the regular of the fantasy football season, which is week 17. So I'm going to do that. And and even with free agency too. Free agency is always fun, especially that first week. We'll be doing videos on that, how it pertains to fantasy football for next season. Rankings throughout the season, all that stuff, mini camps, whatever it is, I'm going to be covering for sure. Hope Waddle plays well this week, and Waddle should play well. I think he'll be just fine. George Kittle, TJ Hockenson, and Dallas Goedert rest of season. I would say Hockenson, although if Goddard comes back within the next week, I would say Goddard. Hey, boss, tight end premium for week 15. Do you like Taysom versus Atlanta or Ayuk at Seattle? Ingram out. So I like Taysom for that reason, too. He's going to get more carries. He almost played half the snaps last week. And, he's got He's a super athlete. I mean, he really is. He's playing all over the field. He's throwing it, he's catching it, he's running it. He's even playing on special teams. And I know Dennis Allen multiple times has said he wants to keep getting him more and more work. So I'm definitely in on Taysom Hill this week. And he started out hot. He had a couple of big games the first 5-6 weeks of the season. Then it kind of tailed off. But he's they should have used him more earlier in the season. I know Juwan Johnson's been solid, but with all those weeks without Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas, they should have found a better way to use him more consistently. I had Zach Ertz in my 4-man league, and it screwed me when he went down. Yeah, Zach Ertz, that was a big loss. I had just traded him the week before that. Now, I'm a big Zach Ertz fan. I think he's always been phenomenally productive and consistent and even underrated. And that was a shame to see that happen to him. Slayton or Jameson Williams? Slayton. Slayton's really the last man standing for the Giants. He's going to get a ton of targets. Not sure they're going to be successful because Darius Slay and James Bradbury are the real deal. The Jets have the best cornerback duo in the NFL, but the Eagles are number 2. And the Eagles, I think, lead all of football in giving up the fewest yards in the passing game. Been a Chiefs fan since 2005. Love the sport. Love the team. Yeah. So, you took Kadarius Toney from me for the Giant fan. And honestly, good riddance. I'm glad somebody took him because I just couldn't stand that guy. And believe me, you're going to find out. Now, there's a different culture in Kansas City. Maybe he's going to the pressure of pleasing Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid will get him to shape up. But he was nothing but a jerk and a headache and just an immature brat when he was here. How do you think Chase does this weekend? I think he's fine. I mean, he was good last week. I went up against him in fantasy, unfortunately, and he was the old Chase. So no issues there in terms of Chase going forward. Giants also had Kenny Galladay. Yeah, Kenny Galladay, but he's washed. I mean, he's completely washed. How do you close your kicker? Who do you look at? As far as kicker, what I usually do is I look at teams that tend to bog down in the red zone and kick a lot of field goals, like the Giants. Graham Gano is like the perfect kicker because the Giants don't score touchdowns at a high rate, and he's always kicking long ones, and he's very good at it. His percentage beyond 40 yards is incredible, and so he's like the perfect fantasy kicker. Those are the guys you want. Harrison Butker is an awesome kicker, but he's kicking mostly extra points, and you're not getting a lot of points from that. And honestly, Erwin, just drop kicker in general. It was the best thing that we did in both of my leagues. I have no kickers at all in my 2 leagues. So it's the greatest thing because there's no rhyme or reason for it. You can't project kickers like you can project anybody else. The team can go 5 for 5 in the red zone and put up 35 points. Great game. But then your kicker gets 5 points. So there's no rhyme or reason for it. You know what I mean? Isaiah McKenzie sneaky start this week. So yes, I did a whole video on that AMC. I don't know if you saw that. I did that earlier today. Isaiah McKenzie is going to have a big day for sure. Started Justin Tucker over Daniel Carlson. Carlson had to, yeah. I mean, again, kickers should not be a thing in fantasy. I think we got to change with the times a little bit. And I think with kicker, that's one position we can kind of do without. You know what I mean? I have Harrison Butker. Yeah, but aren't you disappointed, Rise, that he doesn't? I don't know how many field goals he has. Like I said, I haven't been following kickers as much this season, but I gather he's probably doesn't have as many. Is he even in the top 10 in points scored among kickers? I'm curious. Do you like DeMarcus Robinson this week against Pittsburgh? Hard to say, Joe. We don't know what Tyler Huntley's preferences are besides Mark Andrews. I mean, DeMarcus Robinson's been good. Pittsburgh's defense has not been good. So on paper, is he a flex? Yeah, he is a flex. I think he could do a little bit better, though. Isaiah McKenzie is definitely going to be a thing. Extra points mainly. So, again, Graham Gano, that's one kicker that I would not even just because I'm a Giant fan, because it is also because I'm a Giant fan. I know that they don't score touchdowns. They're always getting bogged down in a red zone. They're always bringing Gano in. Would you drop Jamo for Isaiah McKenzie in case DK don't play? Why can't I figure out who Jamo is? I'm sorry, Anti-Slayer. I'm having a brain cramp. Who are we talking about there? Jamo. Eric Berry is my guy. Why is he still a free agent? I mean, he should have been retired by now. I'm not sure about that one either. I don't know. That one's puzzling to me. Thoughts on Baker Mayfield after last night was a mirage. He's not good. Baker Mayfield's the perfect backup quarterback. That's what he would be really good at because he brings energy when he comes on the field. he brings the energy. There's no doubt about it. He's got, he fires guys up. He's headbutting everybody. He's got some ability. He was a first overall pick for a reason, but the limitations are there. The issues throwing down the field, seeing over the offensive lineman. The arm is good, not great. Accuracy is a problem for him. He's not always very consistent. So there's warts. And as a starter, he's been exposed now in multiple places, and I think he's best served as just a backup, for the remainder of the season. But again, I got to hand it to him off of really just one day preparing to be able to come in and beat the Raiders, a Raiders team that came in with a couple of 3 wins or 2 or 3 wins in a row. That was pretty good. Should I hold Palmer or drop him? Drop Palmer for McKenzie. Definitely drop him. What's up, man? Oh, hey, Terrell, how you doing? Need help with one running back in a flex? Pierce, Pacheco, Homer, Jay Cook, Knight, Slayton, and Gallup. A running back in a flex. I'm not going to go Pierce because of the game script is going to be terrible. I like Knight. I don't like Gallup. Slayton's going to have a tough time against the Eagles, but he's literally the only guy to throw to. I would say go Knight and Jay Cook as your running back flex. Jameson Williams. Okay, I'm sorry. He's still relatively new, so it didn't register with me. Anti-Slayer, who Ujama was. Would you drop him for? Yeah, for sure. Listen, Isaiah McKenzie's got ability. He really does. I mean, he showed it on Thanksgiving. He had a fairly solid game last week. Not nothing outrageous, but Gabe Davis had the touchdown and like pretty much nothing else. So, and that's a busted pick. I mean, let's face it. We were all high on Gabe. I was not as high on Gabe Davis. I have no shares of him. And that's just because I had some information about knowing somebody on that coaching staff that said Isaiah McKenzie was going to be the guy to own as the second wideout, not Gabe Davis. And it's kind of bearing itself out now. Foreman, Jeff Wilson, Zonovan Knight, start 2. I'm going to go. I'm probably going to go Zonovan Knight and Foreman just because I want to see what's up with Wilson. It was weird. They only got the 1 carry last week. Would you hold P. Ryan? Only if you're a Mixon owner. Would I hold P. Ryan? And we're at the point now where we can't clog the bench with guys that are not useful. I mean, we got to win games now. It's a stretch run of the season. So if you have Mixon, yes, you hold P. Ryan. But if not, just let him go. Should Josh Jacobs be monitored going forward? Josh Jacobs, it's criminal what they're doing to him. Now, I know if you're a Jacobs owner, you're loving it. But at the same time, you shouldn't be loving it because now the fantasy playoffs are coming here and are coming up and he's got 3 separate injuries. So Josh McDaniels doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He never has. He was an embarrassment in Denver. He's an embarrassment now in Las Vegas. And last night that was, I hope he got screamed at by the owner because that was a game that they absolutely gagged. They had no business losing that game against a Rams team that came in with a quarterback literally off the street. No healthy bodies anywhere. No Aaron Donald. No Allen Robinson. No Cooper Kupp. It was pathetic. And speaking of, Darrell Henderson, he got released today by the Jaguars. So I'm not sure what's going on with him. I mean, he's got some ability. I don't know. He's now been released by 2 teams in one season. I don't know what's going on there. I could see Knight having a solid game, being the main guy. Yeah, he could. And he's been very good. His elusiveness rating, I think, led all running backs the last 2 weeks, which is a key stat for a running back. In this league, not a Mixon, so I'm going to add McKenzie. Yeah, you got to do that. You can't wait around at this point in the season, handcuff strategy kind of goes by the wayside because we need to have our bench filled with guys that you're going to be able to use in the fantasy playoffs. As a Pats fan, I'll say Josh McDaniels is better offensively. Yeah, there's certain guys like Romeo Crennel or Wade Phillips or Norv Turner or Jason Garrett who are much better coordinators than they are head coaches. Hey, Rain, how are you? We've been on for about 48 minutes. So if you have any questions, make sure you fire it up. But yeah, so, there's certain guys that just can't hack it as coaches, as the main guy sitting in the big chair. You know what I mean? Raiders D got me 10 points. Yeah. So that last touchdown must have really sucked then, and I know, I said yesterday too, I needed Van Jefferson to score points to kind of hurt a team that I needed to lose. And then he scores right at the gun there. And I texted that owner this morning and I said, how did it feel to see Van Jefferson score with 3 seconds to go? And, that had to be brutal. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you up at night when you're doing fantasy football, when stuff like that happens. Knight was undrafted. He was undrafted out of NC State. Did not get drafted. He should have been drafted. I had him as a 5th round guy, but he wasn't drafted. And the reason why he wasn't drafted is because he overtrained for the NFL Combine and he had tired legs. So when he ran the 40, he came in at 4.6, I believe. And, that's like the holy grail, the 40-yard dash. Meanwhile, it really doesn't mean much of anything because there's been blazing fast guys that haven't been able to do anything in the NFL. So, it's John Ross, for instance, right? The receiver for the Bengals. So that's what knocked him down and caused him to go undrafted. When a head coach can't win the locker room. Yeah, when they lose to the locker room, it's definitely over. Raiders D gave me solid 7 points. Yeah, I hate playing D, man. It's the defenses just drives you crazy. I'd rather have that below. Yeah, I mean, listen, for a fantasy defense, I guess double digits is okay. How do you feel about James Cook being in the lineup regardless of matchup? I think James Cook is, there's some risk here. He had a big game last week, but he was very quiet leading into that game. So is it just a one-game fluke? Is it the start of a breakout? Devin Singletary, we know, is boring as hell. So maybe, Sean McDermott has saved Cook for now to unleash this new wrinkle before the postseason. And you know what? It worked last week. So he was very good in college, catches the ball really, really well. Better receiver than his brother. So not the runner that Dalvin is, but he's still a solid runner himself. There's good upside here going forward. Knight's going to be a valuable. And I tell you what, I'm going to be all over James Cook next season because I think you can get him in the 3rd round. And since I draft receivers in the 1st round, I'm going to be all over James Cook. Knight will be a valuable handcuff for sure. Is Josh Palmer doable now that Mike Williams? No, Josh Palmer is now just a waiver guy. He's got no value. Unless you own Mike Williams or you own Keenan Allen, I would just drop Josh Palmer. Who is the fastest 40-yard dash time in NFL history? Bringing it up since you mentioned the combine. I believe it's Chris Johnson, right? The Tennessee Titans guy. I thought he had the fastest. Well, that might have been broken, so I'm not sure. Let me see if I can look this up. Fastest 40 time. I feel like that was just recently broken. Was it Ross? It might have been Ross who broke it. It was Taquan Thompson. 4.21. That was the fastest ever. So Taquan Thompson, 4.21. So that's crazy. Taquan Thornton, excuse me, Thompson. Taquan Thornton. So the New England Patriots, Taquan Thornton, 4.21. That was the best one. That was the best one ever. It was John Ross grind up until this past season when Taquan Thornton put up the 4.21. That's just a crazy number too. I mean, that's nuts. So would you flex McKnight? Oh, Isaiah McKenzie, James Cook, or Bam Knight? Oh, God, that's a tough one. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. I think I would say Bam Knight just because he's going to get receptions and he's going to run the football. That's how I would answer that, Anti-Slay. I think because he's going to get more touches, Bam Knight. So I think that's why I would go with him. But that's a really tough one. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those guys. Let me just check something on Kenneth Walker here to make sure. All right, so Fournette is officially questionable, as we said. As Patriots fan, we need to get Taquan Thornton. Yeah, you know what, Death Lord? Let me tell you something about Taquan Thornton. So I thought that was a horrendous draft pick by the Pats. I believe they took him in the 2nd round. No issue with the speed, no issue with the athleticism. I had him down as like a 5th or a 6th round guy, and most other pundits did. I remember not Adam Schefter. The guy on NFL Network. I forgot Todd McShay. Couldn't believe it that they took him so early. And the Pats kind of beat to their own drum when it comes to the draft, and they fell in love with the speed. But, he was really just an all-or-nothing player at Baylor. He didn't have a very developed route tree. And he still doesn't. He's really learning the game still. Just a raw guy. He's just off the snap. He runs deep, and that was pretty much it at Baylor. And he, has to learn the finer points of the game. And he's still a project. I thought that was way too early to be doing that. during the season, during the draft in the second round. Top league winner is Josh Jacobs, hands down. Josh Jacobs, 5th round draft pick, is the league winner. I don't think there's any question. Let me ask you something about your opinion. Do you put ETN as running back 2 with Jamal Williams and flex Zonovan Knight, or put Zonovan Knight at running back 2 with Jamal Williams and flex Isaiah McKenzie? You got to go ETN just because he's so good. I like the first option better. All right, Erwin, you have a good day too. Nice talking to you. Ever since I heard you say you like to flex running backs because they catch and rush, I try to invest fix. But yeah, you always want to flex running backs just because you have a double opportunity to accrue fantasy points. When you have just a receiver, if the weather's bad or if the quarterback that they're playing with struggles, that could be an issue. You know what I mean? Notable free agency offseason. I can think of Josh Jacobs. Tony Pollard is a free agent. There's a lot of running backs that are free agents. Saquon Barkley is a free agent. Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel. Ezekiel is not free, but I think they could cut him, which they will. Saquon Barkley is a free agent. There's a lot. Say less, boss. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So as far as Fournette, just a late blurb, trending toward not playing. He's hopeful Todd Bowles hopeful the foot will feel better. Drill remains the same. If Fournette plays, the Bucs will split the workload evenly. And if he doesn't, Rashad White will be a high-end running back 2 play. All right. So Pete Carroll says DK Metcalf will play. And I think DK Metcalf will play for sure. For example, Ayuk, bad quarterback play, not comfortable. So yes, right. He's a perfect example right there. So Ayuk, who I really loved with Jimmy Garoppolo, now I can't stand him because he's got Brock Purdy, who's not going to throw down the field. That's a perfect example right there. You're absolutely right. All right, guys, I'm going to end it here. Friday stream. We did just about an hour. Thank you for tuning in. Day off for me tomorrow in terms of the stream. So Sunday will be a busy day as always. Make sure you tune in for that. We'll have the live stream Sunday evening. So make sure that you guys tune in for that one. Have a great night, and make sure you make all the right decisions. And we'll go from. Oh, Rain, my opponent has T. Higgins, and that worries me. Do you think Jamar will take over? Jamar is going to take over. I hate to say it. Jamar Chase is the guy, Rain. But anyway, guys, have a great night. We will talk tomorrow. Take care, and good night.